Hi there, I'm Allison White, and this is my first lesson on knife skills. We're going to do a whole series on knife skills, from safety to different kind of cuts and meat fabrication. But the first lesson we're going to do is on safety, because that's the most important thing. You want to make sure you're safe in the kitchen. Number one, how to hold a knife. You want to have your fingers like this. And let's pretend the knife wasn't in your hand, then your forefinger and your thumb would be touching each other. So you want to make sure your fingers are in front of the handle, right, like so. And then the other three are just gripping the handle like this. And you want to have a nice firm grip on your knife. You don't want to be holding it super tight, but you don't want it to be loose, because you obviously don't want it slipping out of your hand. So, number one, how to hold a knife. Number two, you want to make sure your knife is sharp. The most unsafe thing in a kitchen is a dull knife. You want to make sure it's super sharp. And to do that, you want to make sure every 2 to 4 times that you use your knife, you hone it. And honing is this little tool that's in your little knife box over here. So you're going to hone it just like this, every 2 to 4 times. And then you're going to sharpen it once a year, maybe. It just depends on how much you use your knife. You want to sharpen it. You can have a professional sharpen your knives, or you can buy a stone and sharpen it yourself. Either one is just fine. And real quick, the difference between honing and sharpening, because it is confusing and a lot of people don't understand it. Just a little visual of the difference between honing and sharpening. If you have the edge of your knife like this, once you start using it, the edges are going to kind of fray apart, because you're using your knife and it's coming in touch with surfaces and food. So the edges are going to start slightly coming apart like that. But when you hone it, it brings them back together. But over time, that's going to get worn out, and they're not really going to want to come back together. So when you sharpen it, it just kind of takes those pieces off, and then you have a super sharp knife again underneath. Make sense? Okay. So number 3 is about your work surface. You want to make sure that you're cutting on the proper thing. You don't want to be cutting on the marble or glass or something like that. You want to cut on a regular cutting board like this, like a nice, hard, sturdy plastic cutting board or a wooden cutting board. And you also want to make sure the cutting board doesn't move. It's super unsafe if you're cutting something up and your cutting board sliding all over the place. It might seem like a hassle to try to figure out how to stop that, because maybe you're in the middle of something, but just stop, figure out what you can do to put underneath it. So if you have a cutting board that maybe is going to slide around a little bit on you, then you can use a wet paper towel and just throw that underneath, and then it won't move. Voila! Or you can obviously use a kitchen towel as well, but you're going to dirty that up, so I just use a wet paper towel, and when I'm done, I just throw it in the trash. So, our 3 lessons on knife safety. Number 1, how to hold a knife. Number 2, make sure it's a sharp knife, and you want to hone it every 2 to 4 times that you use, and once a year. And number 3, make sure that your work surface is the proper work surface that you're cutting on, and it doesn't move around. So thanks for listening to my knife skills safety lesson. My name is Allison White, your fitness foodie. Love your body, own your health.